Thank you, Ambassador Hills, for your commitment, your dedication, and for bringing us this inspiring video. Well done. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Carlos Gutierrez, Chair of Albright Stonebridge Group. He has a distinguished record of public service to his country as U.S. Secretary of Commerce under President George W. Bush. He played a key role in the passage of landmark free trade agreements. Before that, he spent nearly 30 years with the Kellogg Company, most recently as President, CEO, and Chairman of the Board. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Carlos Gutierrez.
Good evening, buenas noches. I'm honored tonight to present the Distinguished Leadership Award for Corporate Social Responsibility to Daniel Servitje, Chairman and CEO of Grupo Bimbo. Daniel is a true leader. I can tell you that he doesn't preach or boast, and receiving awards is not his favorite thing to do. He very much, as the culture of his company, he works, he believes in something bigger than himself, and that has been Grupo Bimbo. And what he has done has been truly extraordinary. Bimbo today, by the way, is the largest bakery in the world. And under his helm, it's gone from about $2 billion of sales in the mid-90s to about $15 billion today. So this has been an unbelievable success story. Having grown up in Mexico City, from the time that I was in junior high school, I can tell you that you learn to love the brand Bimbo at a very quickly. And all of the individual brands below Bimbo, Gansito, and Pingüinos, and I grew up with that. And you really do carry the greatness of that brand with you. This company started in Mexico with a few dozen employees. It now has operations outside of Mexico with some 199 plants, 39 of them in Mexico, 160 outside of Mexico. That's in 32 countries. Grupo Bimbo has been able to succeed in a challenging political and economic environment in emerging markets as well as developed markets. The incredible thing about Bimbo is that they had a corporate culture before it was fashionable to have a corporate culture. And that comes from the great Don Lorenzo Servitje, Daniel's late father, who had a belief in a certain culture of a company where the family was central, where teamwork, where ethics, honor were just absolutely part of the DNA of that company. And today, that is the way Bimbo is known, and that is the way it thrives. It is truly a remarkable organization. Daniel started experimenting with solar energy several decades ago, way before he joined Grupo Bimbo. And his passion for renewable energy has become a core part of Bimbo. It now includes wind as well as solar energy. By 2019, 75% of the group's energy use will be generated by renewables. And by 2025, a full 100%. Again, they do this proudly, quietly, and with great commitment. I know that Grupo Bimbo's deeply humane vision will allow it to continue being highly productive, one of the most socially and environmentally responsible companies in the world. Keep your eye on Bimbo. It's going to keep growing, and it's going to be one of those great world brands in a very short time. And looking back 30, 40 years ago, it was only a brand in Mexico. A remarkable achievement from someone who comes from an organization where corporate social responsibility is as much part of the business as launching new products. So, ladies and gentlemen, felicidades a Daniel Servitje. It's my honor to give him this award and to be here with him tonight. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, good evening, and dear Carlos, after your warm introduction, you make things easier for me, at least for the first minute. So, well, thank you for the dialogue for this very special award. I humbly accept it on behalf of the 140,000 women and men that are part of Grupo Bimbo, and who share a common mission: nourishing a better world. I would also like to express my gratitude to Michael Shifter, a good friend of Mexico and Latin America. While in the last decades, Latin American nations have made important advances in their way towards full development, it is also true that our region faces daunting challenges. Establishing an effective rule of law, curbing crime and impunity, reducing poverty and inequality, improving education, fighting climate change, closing the gender gap, and building more competitive economies. Those are the pressing issues of our time in our region. And business leaders have a central role in this task because we are a part of the solution. And we have to do more, and we have to do better, because we live in an era of democratic discontent. Citizens in democracies around the world see that even in times of economic growth, their personal situation is not improving. They fear that free trade, immigration, digitalization, and other global forces will end up changing their lives in a negative way. Old-time promises are not being fulfilled. A college degree no longer means a well-paid job. Starting a business does not ensure a better future. Or even working a lifetime does not guarantee a good retirement. In times of uncertainty, people demand governments to be more effective, more accountable, and more responsible. And they also want corporations to walk their talk and live up to higher standards in terms of social responsibility. There are 4 areas of social corporate responsibility that have become essential in today's world: people, innovation, our planet, and ethics. First, we need to take care of our people. Our firm was created, as Carlos mentioned, with a clear and powerful purpose: to be a highly productive and deeply humane company. And for us, that begins right at home. We recognize as a self-evident truth that every human being has an inherent dignity, and at Grupo Bimbo, our golden rule is to treat every person with respect, justice, trust, and affection. Work dignifies people, and thus we strive to make our company a place where every woman and man not only can make a living, but can also contribute to their personal development and that of their families. Companies should be brave enough to compete and win in global markets, and humble enough to care for what it's happening in the communities around its workplaces. It is no coincidence that at Bimbo we have a program named El Buen Vecino, the good neighbor. Since 2012, this program has implemented almost 600 projects in the area close to our facilities, with a positive and direct impact. Secondly, corporate leaders must be committed to innovation. Many pressing issues in our world can be solved through creativity and resilience. The most important question for the food industry is, how are we going to feed the world in the next 20 to 30 years? And the answer is by investing in innovation. It is only through science and applied knowledge that we will be able and capable of feeding a growing global population with high-quality, nutritious, and affordable products. This is why at Grupo Bimbo, we are gathering the best minds inside and outside of the company and focusing their talents in finding answers to challenges like sustainable crops and food waste. Our goal is to ensure that in the next decades, our products will continue to be available, nutritious, and affordable for all. The third commitment that must be at the core of social corporate responsibility is protecting the environment. This is a non-negotiable for me, as also he mentioned. Fighting climate change and mitigating the damage humans have inflicted on the planet is also an ethical imperative. So we started in 2012 with a dedicated massive wind farm, and we hope to grow that not only in the US, but in the rest of the world by 2025. And we're also staunch supporters of reforestation, also by degradable plastic packaging and sustainable agricultural programs. We do this because it's at stake not only the future of our company, but it's also at stake the future of our planet. The fourth commitment is ethics. People in our continent rightly demand an end to corruption in politics and government. But honesty, transparency, and accountability must also be at the core of private businesses. If you ask me, what is your company's most important asset? I will tell you that it is the trust of every person we interact with. For us, integrity should not be understood only as compliance with the law. It goes well beyond that. Integrity should be part of everyday's culture of any organization. Ethics is good for business as it strengthens morale, improves efficiency, and sustains trust. In 2017 and 2018, Grupo Bimbo was recognized as one of the most ethical companies in the world. But we know we need to do much more. As stakeholders increase their expectations about what companies should and shouldn't do every year in the face of new challenges. Dear friends, as you know, Mexico is undergoing an important process of political change. On December 1st, a new president will be inaugurated. President-elect López Obrador has pledged to put social justice at the center of his government's policy, something that could be positive for millions of people across Mexico. Every change comes with opportunities and challenges. On the side of opportunities, I see important avenues of public-private collaboration to build a more equitable society. I am sure that there will be ways to increase the impact of social policy with the support of private companies. But at the same time, the next administration will also face enormous challenges. A weak rule of law, a high level of impunity, corruption, and public insecurity, as well as the need to preserve economic stability and the flow of productive investment to our economy. That is why Mexico urgently needs to complete the transition towards democratic governance. Democratic governance requires a government committed to uphold the law and respect liberties at all levels. Individual liberties first, political liberties and economic liberties as well. Mexico just had an informal referendum-like exercise, and as a result of it, President-elect López Obrador has announced the cancellation of Mexico City new international airport. a strategic work of infrastructure that has been under construction for the last 4 years with massive public and private investments. At this moment, the full consequences of this decision remain, unfortunately, unclear. A strong rule of law and a government that fosters economic stability with sound policy making is essential to generate growth and build social justice. Democratic governance needs an active society to maintain governments and politics accountable, and citizens that keep the diversity of thought needed to sustain democracy. Democratic governance also needs businesses committed to ethics and social responsibility. The government is important, but it is not everything. It is only through democratic governance built jointly by citizens, the government, and the private sector that Mexico will overcome its problems and become the competitive, fully developed, prosperous nation that it's destined to be. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 decades ago, at the beginning of the new century, few of us, all of us probably, thought that democracy and freedom would be facing the enormous challenges of today's world. Back in the late 90s, conventional wisdom suggested that democratic norms and liberal values were a common goal for most societies. But now, in 2018, democracy and liberties are under severe stress. If human history has taught us one important lesson, is that democracy can never be taken for granted. Democracy needs builders and defenders of political freedom, economic liberties, and social solidarity. Builders and defenders of a more human global economy, one that opens more opportunities and respects the dignity of every person, regardless of his or her age, race, gender, and beliefs. Against the narrative of protectionism, nationalism, or exclusion, we need to build new narratives of shared prosperity and inclusive progress. Against the narrative of fear and anger, we need to imagine new ways to renew the hope of a better future. Because at the end, we all want the same, that our children live in a better world than ours. This is the promise of democracy and liberty that we have to renew. That is the mission our generation has been aligned to carry out with courage, wisdom, and humbleness. Thank you very much for this extraordinary award, and thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.